Hey, Video Diary. So, sometimes in my mind, I go through the different, different pieces of how Forrest dying to heroin use plays out in my mind. And it will get confusing when there's contradictory elements, but they exist together, these contradictory elements. I'll explain what I mean. One piece of the puzzle, or one piece, let's say, that comes into my mind is let's say the opium addiction in just its abstract, large, statistical reality. We have an opium crisis in America. That's like one column. And you can unpack that and judge people and point fingers at who's to blame and farmer companies and that. And then maybe there's like the legal opiates, and then there's the illegal opiates. How are the illegal opiates, which in my mind are the things that, even though people do use the synthetic ones, I think they, like if I was a heroin user, an opiate user, I would go to heroin because that's like the ultimate high experience. That's what we're shooting for, right? If you're just going for maintenance, I don't even know if it's maintenance. If it's, I would still, like, if it was marijuana, I would smoke the best marijuana. And calling something the best, with junkies, it's the best high. It's not just about. I don't think anybody is. It's my opinion, but I don't think anybody is just satisfied with filling the receptors. No one knows that that's happening. You only know when you're high and you're not high, and how far away you're taken away from your responsibilities, right? That's what getting high is, taken away from your responsibilities. So, the drugs, independently. And then there's like the networks of people that profit from them. Everyone from the drug dealer on the street level, piece of shit drug dealer, killing people, to the next piece of garbage that's supplying them, to the next piece of shit that's supplying them. And all those people are making money on this chain that they've rationalized either through their hatred of our society or their lust for money, or I don't know how you justify it. I can see even justifying the production of alcohol. I'm sure the Trappist monks are not having existential crises over alcoholism. There's a certain sense of what that is that's not killing most people. Alcoholism does, and it's terrible. And perhaps, there are a few alcoholics that all they drink is, Chimay. But I just don't see any rationalization. Like this one bird. For selling and profiting from heroin. And then I guess opiates. So what are those networks? How would we shut down those networks just entirely? It's a very pleasant thought I have, because it would be great to just make them irrelevant. Like if you made all drugs legal and set up networks of Here's hospitals where you can come in and you can shoot up and you won't die, and let's see how long that satisfies you. I think that we would have less heroin addicts because you just bring people in there to visit the junkies, and I'm sure the junkies would be willing to minister to the unjunkies about how shitty their lives are. That really did it for me, having had a couple of experiences in business, in art, with junkies, unreliable liars, just full of shit. And in most cases, or let's say in a couple cases, about to die. I was in a business with somebody who was using heroin and was very defensive every time anybody ever brought up that, hey, we're in business with you and we need to be able to trust each other. And he was the money guy. So he was able to say, shut up. I have the money. You don't need to say anything to me. And it wasn't long after, several weeks, that we found, not that I found him, that he was found with his 2 dogs dead in his apartment. His dogs were not dead, thankfully, because they didn't deserve to die. And that weekend, 30 people died of a bad batch, of heroin that was particularly lethal in New York City. And that was, 2000 something. The doorman from the club that I worked in, this young guy, 26 years old, beautiful guy, died from that same period. Anyway, so the drugs, the profiteers, the person, like how much does the person take responsibility? And it's not 0. I had to draw back from 100% maybe because I felt that Forrest was 100% responsible for this at this time. It would have been different when he was 15 or 16 or 17. I could kick myself in the ass in a different way, but not now. Not when he had, school and people that loved him at school, his professors, taking special interest in him. He had training camps. He was a participant, and he had his own for his fights. I have a feeling that he didn't enjoy getting punched in the face. We talked about that, but there's a deeper thing that he was, I think, feeling somewhat guilty that he didn't want to pursue what he had originally put in front of him, which was like, I want to be an MMA fighter. I want to be the best. And I was like, dude, well, go be the best, but be the best that you can be, not, some sort of theoretical best, because that's just going to mess you up. That's too much abstract pressure. And I do understand it. I do understand what that is, to want to be the best. Excuse me. But it gets in the way. It's an ego thing. You're not gonna be better than the best you can be. So go be the best you can be, and shut up. But I think he was having some issues with that. Yeah, but anyway, I get, still the jujitsu was feeding him on a level that I understand now, having done it for almost a year, but having done martial arts for 30, I it's hard. It's a harder road than just jabbing yourself with a needle and being in wherever you go. It's hard. It's hard being disciplined, loyal to your positive choices. And at what point he said, fuck it. I'm going to do this again because it's my chance to be me or whatever, you know, to be alone. He had girls that loved him, things that didn't need to destroy or. But I think he was having trouble choosing, just like every 23-year-old has. I don't know where to go. And that's sometimes tough to ride out those periods where you're faced with your depression, and your confusion. That's not the issue. The issue is how you deal with it. He had so much. He had so many reasons not to do that. So I am going to be disappointed with him. Uh, and I do feel that he was responsible for his choice to do that. He was shooting up right now a year ago when I was talking to him on the phone, talking about school, internet classes, which he was doing for the summer, his gym, his workouts, dreams. I said, take some time off, man, relax, and just enjoy every day. Fixing his car. I got him to the dentist. It wasn't easy because there was something going on, and now I know. I fucking hate that he did this, and I hate him for doing it. So that's how much I feel his responsibility in this. There's no bullshit here. He had no excuse for doing this. His issues, whatever they are, whatever they were, did not have to be processed through this lie. But they were. And so I have to suck it up. Just like every other parent who loses a child to this garbage, this bullshit. I call it bullshit because that's what it is. It's lying to yourself, knowing that you're lying, not outwardly confronting it, so that equivocation, that sidestepping, that blaming, all of the types of issues, bullshit. Yeah, so I was thinking like, wow, maybe I could help other people whose kids have died, within the first few days and weeks by talking to them on the phone. But I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to want to hear what I have to say. You know, I've been thinking about this other kid who killed himself, Forrest's friend, and I spoke with him at Forrest Memorial. And all the people that pulled together to put that memorial together, and that kid was there, and it's beautiful. Fucked up junkie, but beautiful just kid. 22, 23, so not a kid, but not an adult either. And sometimes I'll have flashes of that person. And no, I don't know what you guys were struggling with, but really, were you struggling with anything really except addiction itself? Isn't it really just addiction itself? You got tangled up in a chemical substance that's rocket fuel pure, and your biology can't take it. Um, I don't know. I I I also, okay. So Forrest being responsible, and then junkies as a group. And it's completely wrong of me. I got it. I got that. That I generalize. I put them in a group. It doesn't matter what color, religion, age, gender. If you're a junkie, you're buying into something that's hurting you and everybody. You're victimizing society and history because you're injecting this poison into the generations. Uh, and just to say that you can't do anything or it's your life to poison and destroy, it's not satisfying to me, to just have that the last word on being a junkie. But from what I understand, most of the junkies say we hate being junkies. You don't know how bad this is, all that kind of stuff. I always ask the question, well, why don't you get off it? Why don't you stop taking it? Stop using it? Stop hanging out with the people that support you using it? Stop, blaming anybody, even yourself. Just go do positive, do things that are not that. Uh, Having overcome a few addictions myself, I understand it's not so easy, but it's not impossible either. When I realized, for example, that cigarettes were just killing me, they were just killing me, and everybody's smoking, saying, "What's the big deal, bro?" You know, like, I smoke, you know. It isn't about what anybody else does. They were killing me. I couldn't do any of the things that I can do now when I was smoking. I'm 55. But if I didn't quit, I had only myself to blame. Nobody gives a shit. Society doesn't care. It, you know, it's your life, I guess. But is this really how you want to waste it? With drugs? Those drugs? Smoke a joint, roll down a hill. Take up something extreme, but undeadly, healthy, positive. Fuck. And I think it is bundled. It's bundled with, for people with bad relationships, stupid ideas, lack of education, bad health, bad eating, just and those things are not like, you know, I was going to say leftist or hippie ideals, but I'm like, try yoga and you see how hard that is. And if that's a hippie ideal, adopt it. Because you, with 1,000 yoga sessions as compared to 1,000 packs of cigarettes, will, you tell me which one is better. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people just being just addicts only because it throws their lives away. If it didn't have bad effects and destroy families and make you a complete asshole, I don't think I'd care so much. I'd be like, go ahead. But it's 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 so corrosive that I hate junkies as a block, as a group. I have never had an interaction with one where their argument did anything but offend me, my sensibilities. One last thing, I made a couple mistakes. Dizzy found Bird shooting up, Charlie Parker shooting up in the bathroom on the side of a stage, and there's a small room, and was so upset he ran out on stage just saying he's shooting up right now. This is as if to say this is absolutely fucking ridiculous, that this is what we are. Arguably one of the greatest musicians of the 20th century, and a genius. And he did it through not being a savant or getting superpowers overnight or being a natural, but by working his ass off. He practiced and he figured it out. He unlocked a key of how to speak that language that no one had done yet. Several other people had done similar things their own ways, and just like a couple people learned to fly airplanes within the first few weeks of each other. Something happens. But what I didn't add is that after that incident, Charlie Parker was very upset because it embarrassed him. So he felt a high degree of shame that Dizzy would blurt that out in front of a group of people, an audience, public, and it's like, what the equivalent of saying I don't know. I don't want to say anything too disgusting here, but obviously shooting up is equivalent to something shameful. And because he was super embarrassed, he was humiliated. But then the band went into the back room and were talking to Charlie Parker, saying how he was discrediting his race, his music, and himself. And throwing it away. So my feelings are not unique. This was 70 years ago or more. Just that if those guys back then were able to feel that way towards him, it's just the normal course of events of it, what a junkie is in their daily life and how they comport themselves. And most of you are not Charlie Parker, and you don't have anything to offer because you haven't developed any skills except shooting up. I am very upset that my son isn't becoming a professional whatever, something, a writer, a teacher, martial artist, fighter, whatever, a cook. It doesn't matter. A living, contributing person that we could enjoy as tribesmen, as uniquely related to each other in the way that I am not related to anybody else because he took it away. For what? I ask myself, for what? People get high because it immediately changes your state. It's like beam me up, Scotty. It's It's a binary thing. It's an escape. And maybe there's ways to do that in positive ways. Like you could do push-ups. You could meditate. You could, some people, harm reduction, they say smoke a little marijuana. I admit to using marijuana oil, but I don't share it, and I don't hang out with people who smoke, and I don't talk about it. I don't define myself inside myself with that obsession. I'm more obsessed with guitar and jiu-jitsu lately. Really positive stuff. And the guys I'm rolling with are Forrest's age. So it's fucking offensive that my son, who had so much going for him, blew it. Pulled the plug. And thinking you're invincible, or people say, well, you think you're invincible. I did not think I was invincible at 23. I did stupid things because of lack of judgment, maybe. But I did a lot of unstupid things. I wouldn't have done that. Because anybody knows how dangerous that is. Or you should. Obviously, I'm like I said, I'm in an my own echo chamber, because there's an epidemic of people wanting to get high in this way, and I just, like I said, I collectively say fuck you to all of you, because of this, and that's what my position is. So, wow, I've talked about the money, or let's say the epidemic itself as an abstraction, the people profiting from it. Fuck all of you. The junkies themselves, who have found no other way to express themselves except poisoning themselves and society and history with this. Losing my own son, personally, who I feel betrayed. He betrayed himself. He betrayed his family. He betrayed me. And there's no, great lesson or wisdom or, I mean, I'm going to strive for wisdom or whatever, knowledge, peace. I don't even know the words. I don't even want to think of the words. But let's just say a state that is in keeping with nature. But I have to suck it up, because I'm not going to build memorial, look at pictures, remembering. The only thing that happened recently is I've been, like I said, I exercise. That's sort of like my practice. And I was doing something, and sometimes it knocks me out of my memory of myself. And all of a sudden I felt like I was Forrest. And I've recognized it by the color that was around me. So I'm looking out of my eyes, and it's a different color than I normally see. It was like a deer, roanish brown, like the color of him. And as I'm him, I'm feeling that urge, that life, that there's a, I can go towards this, I could go towards this, could try a little of this, I can see who I am, but my life is this struggle about things and not knowing. And so I think my son poked into heroin again to see if there was a way out of the hard work, a way out of what seemed to be like an arduous path of choices that you make. A vacation without a vacation. And as I was him, I felt his his confusion, unsatisfaction, dissatisfaction. It wasn't intense, it was just small, but it was there. And I kind of felt maybe, okay, I understand. But he made the wrong choice. He picked the wrong master. He was the master. This is my longest video.